everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is Lindsay and this is Life with Lindsay. Today we have a WIP Chat. If you do not know what a WIP Chat is, it is a work in progress, a WIP. So I will be working on my current work in progress, and you can work alongside with your own craft project or household chores or driving around or at work or however you want to do it. There is no right way or wrong way to WIP Chat. Before we get really into it, I have a few boring housekeeping tips. I do have a fan. It's kind of below the camera today, so I don't know if that makes it loud or not. I'm recording this while my tiny human is very much awake, so you will definitely hear her singing the song of her people. And my husband is in the room, so you may hear husband noises. Say, hi, husband.
Oh, hello.
More than likely, you'll hear husband phone noises, and in the back of your mind, anytime you hear one, if you want to be like people in our family, just go, what's that noise? And now you fit in with our clan. So today I am working on, this is Alice in the Sea of Tears. This is brand new. I have not laid a single drill down. I don't normally go over what I'm working on and what I'm working with, but I'm going to show you guys real quick. This is a brand new pen from Kevin's Kreations. I will make sure to link him down below. There will be a video unboxing a bunch of his different pens coming this week. And this is his Cheshire Cat themed pen. You can see it's purple and pink, and it was totally coincidental, and I had to snag it. I'm also testing out the new Pretty Placers Gems, I believe these are called, and this one is in Coconut Calypso, and let me tell you, it smells divine. And then I got a brand new Munimade tray. I've never tried them, so we're going to just try it along and see how it all goes. And I have the wax in my single placer. So, how is everybody doing? I feel like it's been a while since I filmed a WIP Chat, but that can't be right because I film a WIP Chat like every week. I think. Well, there we go. I just ripped it right out of the... Alright. Let's try to figure this wax out a little bit, as I just totally pulled it right out of my pen. If I have to fuss with this too much, I will try it when I'm not recording so that I'm not sitting here, you know, wasting time on a drill. Yeah, so anyway, totally lost my train of thought. I haven't even gotten started yet. This is the first round drill canvas that I feel like I've done in ages. If you guys did not see the unboxing for this, I will make sure to link that up in the eye. I wept like a baby. Spoiler alert, and I am absolutely, utterly in love with this image. And I forgot my, not wax paper, my release paper. I have like one square of it that I usually use so that I can put my tray down, but I don't know what I did with it. So, we're off to a great start, you guys. So anyway, what's going on in our world? I'll tell you guys a little bit about what's been going on since we last spoke. So I put up a little like mini vlog, if you will. That is my husband using the heat gun, if anyone is wondering what that noise is. I just told it.
Below if you go, what's that noise?
Look, let's play a drinking game. I'm not encouraging drinking, but seriously, if we were doing this while we were on the phone with any of our parents, the amount of times that somebody goes, what's that noise? Anytime somebody, their phone goes off or, you know, something in the background. And now my daughter does it. And now she'll do it and she'll get mad because she wants that noise to be something that it isn't. Like today, a giant truck, an oil truck drove by and she's like, what's that noise? And I'm like, it's a big truck. She's like, it's the trash truck. I said, no, it's not the trash truck. And then she proceeded to argue with me that it was the trash truck when indeed it was not the trash truck. We're at a fun stage of arguing. I'll go over that in a little bit. But I put up a little mini vlog for our camping trip, which was so much fun. But if you have children, you know that going on a vacation with children is not at all a vacation for the adults. It never is. I don't know why parents do it. But we do it. Anyway, so we took our daughter camping. We went to a KOA. We went to one that was in our state. I did put up a mini vlog. Just think of it as like a little bonus video. It was about an hour and a half away from where we live, and it was not the closest one to where we are, but we opted to go to that one because it had the most age-appropriate, kid-friendly amenities, and that's important for us. I mean, if you have older kids, you know, they might not need as much stuff to do to keep themselves occupied, but the fact that this place had a playground and a petting zoo and a pool, and we could mine for gems and all these things, she absolutely loved it. And while we were there, a baby goat was born. So we were there we checked in Tuesday, checked out Thursday. So we had like 2 days on the campgrounds. It was really interesting because there are definitely people who they must rent out. All right. Try that again. There are people who definitely rent out space, and I guess are like weekend campers and stuff like that, because around where we were, there were so many like RVs and campers that were parked, but there was nobody there. There were a couple where there were people, but you could tell there are some that, like, these are long-term, I don't want to say residents, but I don't know what the proper term is. If you know, let me know down below. But we had so much fun. She really wanted to go fishing, which surprised me, but I didn't know. They were like, oh, it's a catch and release pond, and I'm just sitting there staring at her, and she's like, you have to have your own equipment for it. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. The only thing I didn't like is...
catch and release means you bring your own...
Yeah, I know. Catch and release means you catch a fish and you put it back in the pond. But I didn't know that, like, that's what they were trying to imply with it. But anyway, there were a couple things. Like, we knew that there was going to be a fee to use the jumping pillow, which is basically an inflated or inflatable trampoline. Which thankfully they actually gave us a wristband for her, because I was like, look, we don't want to pay for it if our kid's not going to utilize it. She was on it for maybe 10 minutes the whole time we were there. It's not like, you know,
and she didn't like want to go. It's not like she was like, I want to go back.
Yeah, it was just like, okay, that was cool. Now we can move on. So we did that. We went swimming, and you could just see when we were in the pool, the joy on her face. And I just looked at her, like, tears in my eyes, and I said, baby girl, you needed this, didn't you? And she's like, yeah. And it's been so hard. I know everybody is living in a pandemic state right now, and some people are much more comfortable doing a lot of public outings, and some people are not. And for us, this was a really good way to utilize our time. It was secluded enough that we didn't have to worry about her being on top of people, but there was enough going on and enough other people that it was still, she got to interact with some kids in the pool, and you know, there was a playground. She loved the playground. If you ask her, she will tell you her favorite part of the trip was the green slide. And for days, like even like weeks leading up to the trip, all she would talk about was the green slide. And we were like, I don't know if the slide's green, and I really hope it is, because this kid's obsessing over it. It was, and she really enjoyed it. And yeah, so it was a really nice time. Excuse me. We had a bit of a struggle on night one for the firewood. It would light, but it wouldn't stay lit. And like, we had everything we needed to make the fire. It wasn't like we were like, all right, here we go. We had the kindling, we had the fire, nothing would stay lit. So by the time we actually had dinner, she was already over it. And not even an exaggeration, we had hot dogs, and she wanted mustard on her hot dog, because if you ask her, that's what goes on a hot dog. She learned that from her father. But all she wanted was the mustard. And so she just stuck her finger into the bun and scraped off all the mustard and ate it. And I was like, you're a weird kid. I don't like ketchup or mustard. I'm not really a big condiment person. I like mayo. I know that's a very polarizing thing. But all she wanted to do was just eat the mustard. I was like, all right, kid, I guess so. So anyway, we did that, and then we had some s'mores. And then the second night we were going to do barbecue chicken, but we were just like, you know what, let's just simplify things. My husband is a bit of a pizza snob, and he likes to watch pizza reviews with the baby, and they like to just talk about pizza. Okay. It's their thing. Every single night when he puts her to bed, they watch a pizza review video. And so now she'll eat pizza and she'll review her pizza. And my mom was like, why is this kid giving ratings to the food? And I'm like, oh, she watches pizza reviews with her dad. And my mom's like, really? Well, I don't know why that's so weird, Mom. This is the thing. Like, so anyway, okay, I gotta figure out how to use this wax.
I mean, it all stemmed from her liking pizza too.
So. Yeah. Oh, it's not like you push this on her.
No.
But it's just funny. So we went to a local pizzeria in town for dinner. And by in town, it was like 30 minutes away from where we were staying. But it was so good. I really enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it more than he did. But I'm really particular about sauce. And I love the sauce. I had 0 complaints about the sauce. If anybody is watching, I apologize. I keep hitting the camera. Let me actually readjust you guys a little bit. So we had that for dinner the second night, and then we checked out on Thursday. And we had gone directly from ice skating on Tuesday to the campgrounds. Damn it, I keep hitting the camera even though I just moved it. And so her ice skating is right by an IHOP. So we had lunch at IHOP. I feel like my stories are all like backwards and out of order here, but it's all right. You guys aren't here to police me on my...
Listen to it in order.
No, that won't work. Now I just forgot what I was going to say.
IHOP.
Oh, yeah. So we decided to go to IHOP. There was an IHOP and a Waffle House, and I asked her, are you in the mood for pancakes or are you in the mood for waffles? Now, I'm well aware you can get waffles at IHOP. Can you get pancakes at Waffle House? Probably, right? Sure, yeah. Anyway, so we went, and I understand, like, I'm going to preface this by saying, like, I understand we're still in a pandemic and that restaurants still have safety precautions going on. So we were not given any silverware. When you order the coffee, it no longer comes in the coffee pot, and they don't leave the syrups on the table anymore. Okay, let's get you over here, kid. I don't know where my tweezers are, so I'm just going to gently move that. And then I ordered a mushroom and spinach omelet. Now, this was probably 20 minutes after I ordered that they came out and they said, so we don't have any spinach left. Do you want us to make you just a mushroom omelet? And I was like, no, thank you. And the lady's like, well, do you want something else then? Yeah. And so she's just staring at me. I'm like, could I have the menu? So I place an order for something else, and then she comes back, and my husband had ordered his breakfast with a side of fruit. And they go, the only fruit we have right now is bananas. And he's like, oh, okay. And they're like, did you want that? And he's like, well, can I just get, and he got a different side.
No, I didn't get any side.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
I thought you ordered.
Were potatoes.
Oh.
Like don't worry about it.
But I understand, like, I'm gonna say this in a way, like, I am well aware that the service industry is struggling because everywhere is understaffed, and I'm not knocking that in any way, shape, or form. And if you are a member of the service industry, thank you so much for putting your health on the line during this pandemic. But what I will say is, how do you not know that you are out of these things when the order was placed? It was a little bit frustrating. If you've ever gone out to eat with a small child, I put hers in and I say, can we get hers right away? I don't care if that means that our tickets don't get put in until after hers is done, but her food came out at the same time as us. So she was hungry, and it was a little bit annoying. And then I went to the restroom, and this is not like oh my God, she's going to tell us a weird TMI story, but you can tell that they just hadn't gotten around to it. So I ended up having to change my daughter in the car before we got on the road, which our car, I should have taken a picture of it. It was ridiculously full, and like we were gone for 2.5 days. Like, you would have thought that we were like moving out of our house with the amount of stuff we had in the car. And were there some things we brought that we didn't need? Absolutely. We didn't need the picnic blanket. Or the picnic table cover. We didn't need the blanket. We didn't need all the extra towels, but we brought it with us just in case we needed to. And had we not, that would have been the time we needed to have it. But anyway, it was really interesting. It was a nice little drive. Unfortunately, our GPS took us a different way on the way home, but on the way up, we were driving past, there were a lot of, let's see, how do I say this kindly? Adult stores. And zero shame, you guys, like if that's your thing, go you. But there was a stretch of road where it was like 3 on every block. It was crazy.
No longer in business or adult bookstore.
Yeah.
Like, that was all it was.
And it was like a little bit of a ghost town. It was very strange. We enjoyed the sights. My daughter was totally oblivious to everything that we were looking at. And then we drove by and somebody had like a real life mater from Cars, and the Lightning McQueen wasn't as good, but we were hoping to catch some photos of that on the way back, but we took a different route. And then there was also like this dragon, and it was in the parking lot of something. And finally, when we drove past, I could see it was like a lumberjack restaurant. And I was like, I'm not really sure the correlation, but hey, why not? So there were some cool things to look at. We drove by a college that we didn't know was there. Bucknell? Yep. And I was like, oh, I didn't know this was here. And it was we just had a really nice time. And I'm really glad that we went. But if you've ever been on vacation with a child, it doesn't have to be your child. It can be a friend's child. It can be a relative. Vacationing with children is just yelling at them in a different location. Like, nothing changed. We had more sunshine. We had a pool. We had animals, all these things, but I'm still disciplining her in a different location, and I'm still yelling at her to pay attention and to listen and, all these things. And it was funny. Her room was basically like the size of a closet with a sliding door, and it had bunk beds, which my husband was smart enough to go in before we walked into the house to remove the ladder. Well, it was actually to see if they could remove the ladder, which we could. And he did that because she's 3.5 and she thinks she can do anything she sets her mind to, which is great. But climbing up and down a ladder unattended at like 1 a.m. is not our idea of fun as parents. So he took that out of her room, which was smart. And it's funny, when I was talking to her that she had 2 beds in her room, she's like, no, I didn't. I'm like, yes, you did. She doesn't know what a bunk bed is, so I can't fault her for that. But the first night, she went to bed, and like 12:30 in the morning, she just woke up crying, and we're like, what's wrong, baby girl? You all right? And I don't know if it's because we were just in a different location or what, but she was like totally distraught by it, and we ended up having to take turns tucking her back into bed, which is totally fine. That's my job as a parent, is to make sure that my kid is good and comfortable and safe and all these things. But you could tell she just wasn't okay being in a different sleep environment than what she's used to. So that, and this is coming from a kid who she's slept through the night. And I'm not saying this in like a bragging way, but she's a very good sleeper. When she goes to sleep, I should say. As you guys can hear now, it's nap time, and well, she's very much awake and singing the song of her people and toddling around and jumping and doing all that fun stuff. Let me take a quick sip of water. So, the next night, she like didn't even want to be in her room. She's like, can I sleep with mommy and daddy? And we're like, no, baby girl, you can't sleep in our bed. And we ended up putting her on the futon, which was fine, but that meant that if we had to leave our room for anything at all, including to use the bathroom, that she was right there. And for a kid who sleeps through everything, when we're on vacation, she hears every crick in the floor. You're tiptoeing, and all I can hear in my mind when we're tiptoeing is like the cartoon, like the thump, thump, thump sound. And I'm like, oh man, she's going to wake up. It took me like 6 minutes to get to the bathroom one day, because I was just slowly creeping, turning around, looking. And then I got into the bathroom. I slowly closed the door. And every time I'm looking out the window, making sure she's not moving around but let me tell you, this kid was up and ready to go at like 6 a.m. both days. I'm like, damn, kid, let's sleep in a little bit. But it was great. It was lovely. We had a wonderful time, and we definitely want to do it again. So thank you to everyone at the KOA that we visited. We really enjoyed our stay. And this is definitely not like sponsored in any way, shape, or form. This was just us deciding to take a trip. And there were quite a few KOAs closer to us, but this one, like I said, had the most amenities, so that was really great. And then while we were there, we had her speech session. Thankfully, we were able to do it virtually. It was not the greatest connection, which is really funny because I keep getting ads for KOA on my my phone on like Instagram. And it's like, make the outdoors your classroom, and they're promoting it as such that you can do virtual school on their location. I'm like, we barely had enough connection on my phone. We couldn't go through their hotspot. It wouldn't even connect us, but it worked out. It was fine. And then we came home and she had a session with her head teacher. And we will actually be meeting her head teacher in person for a session this week, which is really exciting. And then next week they're on vacation. So that'll be interesting. Hopefully it doesn't rain because this kid is like counting on seeing her teacher at the playground, which...
As of right now, the weather's supposed
to... Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. I'm excited. I know Briar's excited. You know, hopefully it's not overrun by a bunch of kids because it's right by a public pool. So it's when it's nice out, it's usually really full. So we did that. And then Saturday, we had a couple people come over. And I say that very loosely, but to come hang out in our driveway. We've done this a few times. We just have these driveway bonfires. So we have a little fire pit, you know, little metal one that we just move from place to place. And we put that in the driveway, and a couple people brought like their own chairs. We just hung out and we enjoyed our time together. And I'm super, super excited because we had a great time. We're looking forward to slowly expanding and doing more social but safe activities with our kiddo. Like I said, her school break starts next week. And for those who are curious, her summer break, even though it's through the school district, is not very long because you can't leave 3, 4, 5-year-olds going months without receiving speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, feeding therapy, all of these services that are offered by the county. So they have a modified summer break, but it's very coincidental because next week is our daughter's endoscopy, and the day before is the day that they go on to break. Guys, I have not done a round in what feels like forever. This is so satisfying. I feel like I'm one of those people, I like both rounds and squares. I don't really have a preference, but I feel exhausted from doing so many squares in a row that this has been a nice little surprise. Now, I keep hitting the camera, even though I have adjusted it again. So, let's see. Move you guys up a little bit. There we go. So, we did that. And then this week, we also went to, this was my first experience and I was very excited. We went to our first nursery, and I don't mean like baby nursery. I mean like plant nursery. I have been one of those people who, like many other people, really got into plants and stuff over COVID. Now, I have a black thumb, and every single one of my air plants that I've ever had, which I was told, oh, these are so easy, they've all died. I have some that I'm like, well, if I keep watering them, maybe they'll be all right. No, they're not all right. They're crunchy. They're like the color of cardboard. Air plants are not supposed to be that. If you don't know what an air plant is, it's exactly what it sounds like. It doesn't have to be planted in water. It doesn't have to be planted in soil. It literally just sits out and it absorbs everything it needs from the air. Now, they do need to be soaked here and there, but I just have not had very good luck. So I got into succulents because everybody told me they're so easy to take care of, blah, blah, blah. Excuse me. So I actually found a website that does succulent subscriptions, which I will leave that down below if you guys are interested in that. And I do have a referral code. So I think it gets you your first box half off, I think. I might be wrong in that, but I'll put all that down below. And absolutely zero pressure. Like, if you don't want to use the code, like, there's no need to do it. But, so I have about a dozen little succulents, and I have gotten to the point where I feel comfortable moving on to a house plant. Now, I like green plants. My daughter loves flowers. Flowers, flowers, flowers. Every time her and my husband go for a walk, she picks flowers from people's yards. It's not encouraged, but there's not much I can do after she's already picked it. So we made a deal, and I said, you know, Mommy will get you a flower. So we got her a flower. I asked for help from the staff, and they picked out a begonia. And, you know, the woman's asking me all these questions, and I'm like, look, like, I basically just want, like, a flowering houseplant. Like, I don't want to have to go plant it. I don't want to have to do anything special. Like, if you tell me it needs to be watered and put in the windowsill every day, that's what I will do. So we had gotten her mums when we were at the market, the day before we left for our trip. It was one of those things that she spotted the flowers, and although I tried to convince her I was going to get her own little succulent, because I knew, you know, they're hardy. Mommy can take care of that without her destroying it, possibly. And she was not having any of it. And so we ended up buying mums, and I had no idea that they required like that much watering. And in the 2.5 days that we were gone, when we came back, every single one of the flowers was completely wilted over. And I was like, oh no, I'm going to be that mom that kills her kid's plant, like, the day they get it. So fortunately, I had a couple people message me on Instagram with some really great ideas, and I was able to bring it back to life. And so shout out to you guys for helping Black Thumb me out. And she was super excited, but she still doesn't understand, which is fine, because again, she's 3, that you just look. You don't touch. You don't need to rub the petals, things like that. Like, that's how they will wilt and die. And she is just like, okay, and then still touching them and things like that. So, sorry, I'm trying to... You ever get a new tray and you're like, okay, I just want to make sure I can get these in right? And I feel like I'm at a really bad angle. But also, if I spill, they're going to spill all over my canvas. Let's do this off frame. So, we got those. And then I got a snake plant, which I'm super excited about. I am looking for the kind of plants that, you know, really need minimal care. I don't want to say minimal love, because I'm going to love it, but it's one of those plants that everyone who has one tells me, like, oh, when it needs to be watered, you'll know. Like, it'll perk back up, it'll be sad looking, whatever. And I'm like, okay. So, which one do I want to do next? Let's do this color. So, we got those. So that was nice and fun. And I've been trying to take care of these plants. You know, I'm doing a mediocre job, but I'm doing it, and that's the first step, right? But I had asked in my local moms group on Facebook, which, if you guys have one of them, man, sometimes they can be so helpful, and then other times you're like, this is really what you're wasting time complaining about? Which I guess is like moms in real life too. You're like, really, that's the thing you're gonna... Anyway, we're going to move on from that. But anyway, so I had a couple moms offer some clippings of plants that they had. So one mom is propagating a pothos plant for me, and a monstera, a pothos, and a snake plant. Those were all like on my wish list. But if I can get one for free instead of spending, you know, nursery prices, why wouldn't I do that? So I'm excited. I don't know how long it'll take before they're ready for me, or if they, you know, have been propagating and they're like, well, let me get some clippings for you, or what, but I'm excited. So, it sucks because originally I was going to do Willa for Knox's Punked Out Diamonds event. And then I got this in the mail like super early. For anyone who ordered this Alice in the Sea of Tears canvas, when you purchased yours, did it tell you that it was being delivered at the end of June? Because mine said between June 20th and June 30th. So I wasn't expecting it at all. And then Knox was like, did you get a shipping notification? And I was like, huh, I did. So this showed up. Knox told me that this would qualify for the event. I swapped out and I did this. There was no way I could put this one on hold. But I was going to put Willa above the section that I have all of my crystals and my plants and all of that stuff. So I still want to get to her. It's just a matter of like when, you know? So, but I feel like, no, that's not true. I was going to say, maybe I'll have time to get Willa done after I finish this one, but I am not starting this until like 2 weeks into June. Whoops. And, I've just been dragging my feet. And, you know, one of the things that helps me if I'm feeling like I'm in a diamond painting rut or, you know, if my body is telling me it's uncomfortable sitting in this chair for that many hours, or my hands hurt from the angle that I was holding my pen and I didn't realize it, you know, I'll take that day or days off to just let my body recharge. I know some people are like, I have to diamond paint every single day. And if that's you, like, that's fantastic. But I need to listen to myself, because I know if I'm exhausted and I push myself too hard, like, I will crash. And yesterday I was like, I'm coming upstairs. I'm going to work on this. My husband was working on his stuff. I laid down for a few minutes. And the next thing I knew, my husband was getting my daughter up from her nap. It was like 5 o'clock and I was like, holy moly, I just passed out. I didn't realize my body needed it, but it did. And, you know, that was, you have to listen. If your body is telling you it needs water or nourishment or sleep, you got to give it to it. You have one body. And I say this as somebody who doesn't really take care of their body, but I should take much better care of my body, not just for myself, but for my husband, my child. And before anybody's like, I can't believe that your husband would say, no, he didn't say anything. My husband has never, ever said I need to take better care of myself for him. Oh my God, we're not going to get into that. But if you guys didn't hear what that snarky chuckle was, that was, quote, only your mom does, which is true. I love my parents, don't get me wrong, but my mother grew up in a time where her mother pointed out all of her physical flaws, and sometimes I don't think she realizes that she does to me what her mom did to her, and I think I'm much better at letting it like roll off my shoulders than my mom was, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to go home and let my mom's words about the way my body looks destroy me. I'm well aware that I'm overweight and that I'm not the healthiest person and that I could be doing far more to take care of myself. But I have a friend who, I always call her Dr. Nurse. She has a doctorate in nursing. So she is a doctor, but she is a doctor of nursing, which I am not saying that in any way to discredit like the amount of schooling or anything like that. So, but I was like, can I ask you, this is a really personal and embarrassing question. And she was like, yeah. And we were talking back and forth. It was something health related. And I said, you know what? This conversation has made me realize that I probably need a better doctor. Not because my doctor didn't help me with the problem, but I didn't feel comfortable enough going to my doctor. I felt much more comfortable going to a friend. I was like, well, that's probably problematic. So that will be on my list of things to do in the future here, is to change providers. But speaking of medical things, our daughter's endoscopy is next week. And I get a call today from their financial department. And I'm like, You know, it's always scary when you get a phone call from like a doctor's office or a hospital and you're like, how much do I owe? Like, what did I miss? What billing did I miss? Because if you are in the US, I cannot speak to any other country. For example, if you have treatments, like I have a friend who had a family member going through cancer treatments, and they would get a bill for the cancer treatments, and then they would get a facility bill for them doing the treatments in this building. And I'm like, as opposed to what? Getting it in the parking lot? And the American healthcare system is like that. So this woman called to let us know that they ran all of our insurance information and that after the deductible, or after what the insurance would cover, the deductible would be about $1,800. And I was like, oh, okay, so that's everything that I'm going to owe. And they said, well, no, that's just
Basically
for the procedure. And I'm like, what? And they're like, well, you'll still get charged for the surgeon's fee, and you'll also get charged for the anesthesia. And I'm like, what? And she's like, well, I can connect you to the department that would tell you how much the anesthesia would cost. But you'd have to call your doctor's office to find out the information about the surgery fees, the surgeon fees. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is why people can't afford healthcare in this country, because you go into something thinking, okay, well, this is how much it's going to cost me. And then you get a bill that's like, oh, well, also the gauze that we used was $700. And this was another $500. And it's like, it adds up really quick. And so she goes, we do have a discount, and it would be only $1,500 if you could pay for it in full before the surgery. And I'm like, okay. Now, I'm not here to discuss financials with you guys. I'm not here to tell you how much is in my bank account or whether I can or cannot afford that. But what I'm saying is the average person, if you give them a week to come up with $1,500, isn't going to have access to it. I'm not saying that they might not have it in their bank account, but then things have to be transferred over. Money has to be moved into a checking account or into, cash in hand or whatever it may be. And I'm like, it'd be nice if I had a little bit of notice. And she goes, this is your notice. You guys, the procedure is a week from tomorrow. They gave me like 5 business days to come up with $1,500, or I could do a payment plan and pay the extra $300. So now we've got to figure that out. And, I have no idea how much the rest of it's going to cost. And at the end of the day, we're going to pay it because we have a child who has medical needs and answers that we need to find. But now I need to make sure that we're not just going in for the endoscopy, that they actually have it scheduled to do the biopsy for the EOE. If you guys are wondering what any of these things mean, EOE is eosinophilic esophagitis. I'm going to tell you right now, if you just Google what is EOE, it will explain it much better than me trying to explain it here. And I had this conversation with someone recently, and they're like, oh, well, what does it stand for? And I told them, and they're like, how do you spell that? And I go, just look up EOE. It's 1,000 times easier, and it will. And it's basically an allergy to eosinophils in your esophagus that are triggered by food. So what does that mean in layman's terms? It means that she's having almost allergic reactions to food triggers, but they're not going to come back with a blood test. So, do I suspect there are certain foods that are irritants for her? Absolutely. Like the other day, she had freeze-dried strawberries from Target. Let me tell you, if you guys are into freeze-dried fruit, the Target brand freeze-dried fruit, not the ones that are the gummy ones, but the like crunchy freeze-dried fruit. Oh my gosh, you guys, those are so good. Whatever, we've gotten so many different flavors, so many different fruits and vegetables. They have edamame as well. She ate almost an entire like family-sized bag of strawberries in 2 days. And she had some in the back of the car while we were driving, and we got her out of the car, and I had to look at the ingredients to make sure that it was just strawberries, that it didn't include any food coloring or anything like that. Quick sip of water. her entire face had red bumps and dots all over it, and she didn't seem bothered by it. But this is a child who still has reflux issues, and we asked her, has your belly ever hurt? Because somebody was trying to explain to us, well, you have to eliminate all the things that are irritating her. And I'm like, how am I supposed to know what irritates her if she doesn't understand? And so we asked her, has your belly ever hurt? Ever? And she's like, no. She gets real defensive and thinks she's in trouble. And I'm like, kid, you're not in trouble. Like, mommy and daddy just want to help you. We just want to make sure that if we're giving you something and it makes your belly hurt, that we don't give it to you again. I have a sneaking suspicion that if we do have EOE, that it's going to be the things that she loves the most. Like dairy. That's setting off the triggers. And while there are great, like, vegan cheese substitutes and nut milks and things like that, our child's safe food is sour cream. I don't know if vegan sour cream tastes like regular sour cream. I don't know if that's something that she will even enjoy. And I don't want to get ahead of myself because we don't even know if our kid has EOE. We are just trying to figure out why, at her age, she's still dealing with the reflux issues that she is. So it's a lot of really boring stuff, but, this is what our daily life is like. I've had people say to me, but she looks good. And I'm like, yeah, she looks good. But medically, her statistics show that she's medically malnourished, that she's grossly underweight, that she's got all these things that you would never know just by looking at her. And, nobody's medical battle. You can't compare things and go, well, my kid required like open heart surgery. What do you know about that? I don't know about that. But what do you know about spending 2 years in feeding therapy? It's not a contest as to whose kid is sicker or whose kid had more severe or more complicated things going on in their life. And it's one of those things that if you have a friend who has a medically fragile child and you want to know, what can you do? What can you do to help out? What can you do to make their life easier? What can you do to just brighten their day? Simply ask them. I know I don't understand, and I'm not trying to pretend like I do, but what can I do for you? Can I bring you a meal? Can I do a load of laundry for you? Do you want to go on a coffee date? Because the amount of friends that we had lost because they felt uncomfortable because they didn't know what to say or how to act when they found out that our kid had some health issues. And it's like, just being there means so much to a parent who's going through this. And for us, a lot of that goes back to the fact that we now have an entire virtual community of people who have children that have the same thing that ours does. And you find, like, solace in that. And it's been amazing. So I will make sure you guys keep your eyes peeled on my Instagram stories, perhaps on my actual Instagram feed as well. I will be putting together a small shop fundraiser. So if you have kids or somebody in your family has kids and you're looking for like handmade clothing or t-shirts or accessories, things like that, I will be doing that. I will also be trying to put together some sort of fundraiser for the diamond painting community. So if you don't have a small child in your life or you aren't really interested in handmade goods, I'm hoping to have some vendors that I can auction off, drill trays and a pen and different accessories and things like that. If you are somebody that owns, operates, works for any sort of company, diamond painting, small shop, whatever it may be, and you are interested in participating, please send me an email or shoot me a DM. All of my information is always linked down below. And I am in no way, shape, or form soliciting for things, but I have had a few people express interest in wanting to help and wanting to know how they could help. And so I am just here to say, if that's something that you are interested in, please let me know. My husband and I will continue to give back to a nonprofit called Coping with Laryngomalacia. They have given me a new purpose in life. Let me tell you, when you have a child, your whole identity shifts. And it's hard to figure out who you are and what you bring to the table, because I went from being Lindsay to being Briar's mom. And that was really hard to lose a lot of my own identity in that. And I obviously gained a new identity of being Briar's mom, but it's still one of those things that it's still very difficult to know that, you know, you're not looked at as the same person that you once were. And it's not always an intentional thing. And I know that other people who are parents go through this. I know I'm not the only person. So if you are going through that, or you have gone through that and you feel like you're alone, know that you are not alone at all. At all. And coping has given me an opportunity to learn how to advocate for my child, to learn how to educate others, to spread awareness, to do things like that, that had I not had a child that had any kind of special needs or differences, I might not be that. I might not be that person. And it's given me a new thing to sink a lot of my energy into. And I've been volunteering and giving back since my daughter was an infant, and she's 3.5 now. So, you know, you can do the math. It's been a long time. And one of the most satisfying and also gratifying moments of my life, my husband and I went to a meetup for families in the tri-state area, primarily New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania. I guess really New Jersey, Pennsylvania. And it was a meetup for families who were coping with different Malaysias. And I walked into a room, and for the first time in my life, to know that everybody in that room understood exactly how I felt and what I was going through is a feeling that is completely indescribable. To not have to explain to somebody why your child is drinking thickened liquids, or what it means to be in feeding therapy, or to watch your child go through a cyanotic episode, or dealing with apnea and stridor and things like that. It was an amazing feeling that I cannot describe. And I was hoping to plan our own meetup, near me, and then COVID hit, so that was put on hold, and I'm not gonna force anything for this summer because, I feel like a lot of people just aren't there yet, especially with people who have kids with what my daughter has, because it affects her breathing. Although I should state that we are pretty sure that she has probably outgrown it. We won't know for sure unless an ENT were to get us back in and scope us again. And nobody really wants to bother with us because they didn't really want to bother with us when we were dealing with it. So that's a conversation for another day. But I still want to make sure that I'm protecting her in the best way I can. And so for me, that has included a lot of keeping her from certain situations and social situations, because I just want to protect my child. And, you know, I've had people express thoughts about that, and then I've had people be totally on board with it and agree with it, and, you know, it is what it is. But anyway, so we've got that going on this week. I was thinking about, because my daughter is going to be on school break, that maybe now might be the time to try to utilize our free time to do some other things, like some outdoor activities. I was thinking about taking her to the trampoline park, which, if you guys have been to one in your area recently, let me know. I'm just a little bit concerned about the cleanliness and sanitation aspect of it. And not that I am a germaphobe, but, you know, when you've got snotty kids jumping on equipment, I want to make sure that it's, like, being wiped down. And I'm just not sure if it is. So, anyway, I was thinking about perhaps taking her back to the aquarium. But every day she says, what are we going to do today? And most of the time, the answer is nothing. We might have, you know, like today we went on a post office run, which usually means we go to the post office. My husband drops off packages, and then we go to Dunkin' for the drive-thru, or, you know, pick up lunch on the way while we're out at a drive-thru or curbside or something like that. And she is in this, I want to do something fun. I want to do something cool. Like, okay, well, what do you want to do? I don't know. And then she gets mad at us. And I'm like, well, what do you want from me, kid? I don't know what you want. I'm not a mind reader. And I'm certainly not your mind reader. I can barely understand what you're saying when you do use real words. But her speech has gotten much better. But it's just funny because she says it like every single day. So we got this. If you guys are old enough to remember the JCPenney like Christmas catalogs of the 70s and 80s, Amazon came out with their own version of it this year. I don't know if that's new or if we just never got it before or what. But somehow she found it the other day. And she likes to go through it and, you know, tell us all the things that she obviously has to have because that's how you are when you're 3. And all the things that she loves. And she's one of those kids that she'll be like, Daddy, should we get this? And then if you're like, no, she'll be like, no. And I'm like, Briar, if you want something, it doesn't have to be a toy. Like, if you want us to read a book, don't go, should you read this to me? Do you want me to read it to you? Yes. Well, then ask mommy to read it to you. Or she does the same thing with food, too. Like, should I have something from the snack box? If you want something, Briar, go get it. So we've been getting a lot of little, like, the activity books that you can get, like, the dollar spot at Target and, like, things like that, that we just throw in the diaper bag for if we're at a grandparent's house or if we are at a restaurant. We've always had things like that. But recently, she's been getting a lot of Paw Patrol. This is a kid who's never seen Paw Patrol in her life. Somehow, I guess I had read the names on their tags or whatever it is.
I think you looked it up.
I might have. And, like, I knew who Chase was because Chase is on the case. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I couldn't tell you the premise of the show, but it's a bunch of dogs. Each one of them has their own occupation. Like, Marshall is a Dalmatian because he's a fire dog, and that's why his name is Marshall. And, like, Chase is the police dog, so, like, Chase, like, police chase. Anyway, so she's really into Sky. And she keeps telling us Sky is pink, and that's all I know about Sky. So yesterday we told her, if you want to watch an episode of Paw Patrol instead of Mickey before bed, because she gets her one episode of TV a day, if she's lucky, then we'll do that. And so we're watching it. My husband starts to doze off on the couch, which she was livid about. Daddy, don't do that. Daddy, stop making that noise. No, Daddy, I don't like that. And he's sitting there like, okay. And then he dozes off again. And she's just like, I don't know why that angered her as much as it did, but it did. So then some scene comes out and there are these cats. And she's like asking me all about these cats. And I'm like, I have never seen this show in my life. I don't know if those cats are good cats or bad. I don't know anything about these cats. And she wants me to like give the whole like history of it. So the reason this sparked that was because she had seen this toy in that Amazon catalog and she started crying because she really wanted it. And we've noticed, because we've just started taking her out of the house for some things recently, that she doesn't understand. It doesn't have to just be a toy, but she doesn't understand that when you go to a store that has like checkouts, that you have to put said item on the conveyor belt or hand it to the cashier so that they can scan it and then they will give it back to you. Well, she freaks out because she thinks they're trying to take whatever it is from her. So we explained to her that's not the case. And the last time this happened was on our trip. We went into the gift shop for something and she ended up walking out of there with a stuffed animal. And I know the cashier, the woman that was working, was trying to be helpful. But she's like, it's okay, honey. Let me just come to you. And I'm like, no. Like, let her have this moment where she understands that you're not taking it from her. And I said, Briar, you have to give it to the woman. She'll give it back to you, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, she had seen this toy in the catalog. And she said, Daddy, I want it. Blah, 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 blah. I want it. I need it. I have to have it. And he said to her, which I don't disagree with, well, why don't we go to the store? That way you can touch it and you can see if it's what you really want. Now, translate that to toddler speak. And her immediate mind was, we're going right now to the store. Right now. Right now we're going. Right now. We have to go right now. It was like 10 minutes to bedtime. There was no right now that was happening. So we explained to her, we'll go to the store this week. We are not going right now. We are not going tomorrow. But we will go sometime this week. It seemed to satisfy her in the moment, and then I had to have the conversation with her that when we do get the toy, it's not a guarantee. You have to, you need to upstand your side of the bargain here. And the deal was, she needs to participate and cooperate in her next ice skating lesson. Now, if you're wondering why I'm saying that as her thing, well, this past week, she decided she didn't really want to participate, so she laid down on the ice with her instructor on that end of the ice, and she screamed the words to Beau Be Mine at the top of her lungs and then refused to get up. We were like, Briar, just get up. And she was none too pleased. So I said, this is not a guarantee. You have to do what your lesson is. If they tell you this is what you need to do, you need to do it. You need to try. Like, I'm not going to force my kid to do a triple axel when she can barely stand on ice skates. But if they tell her, get off the ice and stand up, then you need to get off the ice and stand up. And if I say go back onto the ice, Briar, then you need to go back onto the ice. And she's like, okay. And I'm like, this is totally dependent on you. Now, I'm aware that she's 3 and she's probably not fully comprehending what I'm saying. But then I had a conversation with her today, and she is repeating back to me that she has to let them scan it. So we'll see. So now all she can think of is that we're going to go get this Sky toy. This is a kid who doesn't need any other toys at all. But yet here we are.
Even if you ask her, do you need more toys? No.
No. Like, she knows, but she just wants it. And I understand. And Daddy is a sucker. Because I would have just been like, oh, yeah, that's really cool. Let's keep moving on. And she just happened to fixate on this toy, and now that's all she can think about and talk about. So if all goes well on Tuesday, we will acquire a Sky Dog toy. And I love how she's talking about it as if she already knows how it's going to work. And I'm like, you don't even know what it is, kid. And then she asked for like an RC car, and he's like, no, you don't need a remote control toy, kid. You don't need anything that's battery operated at this point because you keep turning them off. Anyway, that's not why we're here. Not materialistic wise. But anyway, so that's how our week has gone, and that is our plan. So the next WIP Chat that I will be recording, I shouldn't say that. I might wait until after she has her procedure so that I can give you guys some updates. Again, I don't really know. I just kind of record when I can. I've kind of fallen into the habit of recording on Sunday night and then uploading on Monday just because it's the easiest way to rehash the week. Is like, oh, the week's over. Let me tell you how it went. Which this is not going up on a Monday, and it was not recorded on a Sunday. So there goes that theory. But, you know, I hope that you guys have stuck around to the end of the video here because I am, per usual, just rambling on. If you have made it all the way to the end, Let me know what your favorite childhood toy was growing up. Or if you have a kid now who's really into something, let me know down below. I'm going to end this here today. Got a nice little chunk done of sea grass. There's, I think, a sea anemone is right here. Not a sea bass, sea grass, which is different. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it 2 thumbs up. One real life, one virtual. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Come, join the Sparkle Squad. And while you are there, make sure you hit that notification bell. I do not operate on any sort of schedule. I operate on toddler standard time, so I record when my child is sleeping or sleeping, and I do the best with what I've got. So thank you guys so much for being here, and I'll see you on my next one. Bye, guys!